Just an anecdote now that I called, not of particular importance, just, because I walk outside the room, and so I see this kind of like a heap of all sort of like stuff, presumably like random stuff. So it wasn't there until like a couple of days ago, it was just empty. So what is the meaning of this heap of random things? Of course, it's all part of the method of the Israelis. The idea is, of course, that all sorts of like psychological triggers are implanted on you. This could be both words or actions or just objects. And then, when you see the object, then you are under their command. Like you see in like the most primitive movies, like that. Children like movies like that. Like cartoons. It's cartoon cinema. Like supposedly you see the radiator, then now tongue, I am a robot, I will do what you say. Now they do it to me all my life, and certainly in the last 10 years, or like every day. And I don't think it ever worked for them. And there was also a question of like, how do you know if it works or not? I would suggest that nothing they do works, because their objective situation only become worse. They don't have their dicks, they don't have like biological children, they don't have a sovereignty. They're only losing stuff like all the time. So I would suggest that through the decades you can say that objectively it doesn't work. But even like in the short term, it's very difficult to say. How do you know if it's working or not? According to my subjective feelings, it doesn't work. But you can argue you don't understand. But actually, in a subconscious way, it works. But then I would suggest, okay, so let's search for like an objective things in reality that with regards to me, are helpful to them. And I kind of they don't have the gates. They don't have the robots. They don't have nothing. So so I would suggest that it doesn't work. So, but now they are very, they are kind of like, the IDF is now like, in the battle of the bulge. How do they say bulge? Like, the Belge. How do you say it? Like, like a very, last resort battle. So they decided, let's now shoot all the cannons together, like use the high caliber stuff. So you see here, you have both a radiator and an old drawer and an umbrella. Not just an umbrella, a blue umbrella, which is like an atomic weapon. Hypnotically, it's atomic bomb. So you see, they have everything. They're shooting all the most serious cannons. I just tell you because I know some of my listeners, they actively take part, in the war, whether in Venus or in here or in the Gaza Strip. And I want to tell you that, I'm with you, I'm with you in your battles. I know I cannot like actually go and fight because, I'm under arrest, but from this humble, rest house in Tel Aviv, I'm still fighting the fight. You see, they shoot all the cannons at me. They are putting radiator and like all the, and they are clogging the sink. They're using all the most terrible hypnotic weapons at me. So I'm also, I'm under attack, not just you, so I'm also suffering from the heat of the fight, the heat of the battle. Now, something that I thought about, actually it's interesting because for a long time I thought that, the issue of the triggers is actually very prominent in not in this channel, but in the Evernote account and maybe Twitter, because it was part of what and because I understood that it's a huge part of what Shabak is doing. 99% or 90% of what they do is just these hypnotic weapons. And it seems ridiculous to me, but I try to understand what's actually happening here. And actually, I spend too much time, researching this stuff. In retrospect, I think that, and I spoke about quite a bit in the Evernote account in Twitter, and I said that in retrospect, I spent too much time and energy, into this research of this stuff. But you cannot know in advance, where to put your energies. I'm not, I'm kind of like this essay. It's a journey that lasts for 4.5 years, and before this journey, there was also many years of all sorts of wandering. As I mentioned in the videos yesterday, it's not like just to give you kind of like a taste of my life before the journey. It's not that it just started, you understand that. If you understand that Jeff Bezos is talking to you in the company messenger, this is something very peculiar that makes you think a lot. Even that happened before the journey. So just to say that the journey was May 2019 was not really the beginning of the journey. I placed it as a date because this is where I understood for a fact, without a doubt, that the Israeli intelligence is following me all the time. So that was the kind of a paradigmatic change in my thought. So you cannot know, I mean, where to place your energies. And in retrospect, I placed too much energies on that. But I didn't understand. I mean, what I didn't understand is like when they actually supposed to put the triggers on me. For a long time, what I thought is that they do it to all the people of the Israeli intelligence. That is kind of like a thing that they do to all their own people. And I understood that one of the common lies about me that is I'm one of their people. I mean, I understood it's very common. And I also understood that many people think, because no one knows nothing, I mean, it's all rumors. So many people think, okay, there are the videos, I mean, of course, the painting project, the people, I mean, create all sorts of videos, like I participate in all sorts of sexual acts. So, I mean, maybe because of these videos, they assume that I'm a pervert like them, and it's known that perverts are part of the Israeli intelligence, hence I'm part of the Israeli intelligence. Maybe this was the argumentation. So I thought, I mean, so maybe the problem is that they don't understand that I'm not part. So that's why, I mean, the triggers don't work on me, because I'm not part of. I mean, I was never. I didn't want to go through this process. But after some time, I understood that this is for. I mean, for like something like more than a year, I thought that this is actually reality. But after some time, I abandoned this theory. Again, it's not particularly important. I told you, I spent too much time. I mean, like researching this issue, which is not incredibly important. Just, I mean, so no, I don't think that's true. I mean, it's not. This is not a reality. And later I understood that the conditioning is done to large percentage of the population, I mean, for all sorts of reasons. And that actually, I mean, a huge part of the population is in that way or another under the boot of the totalitarian state. Because it's a totalitarian state. So, and actually there are many reasons why you undergo this kind of psychological conditioning. And when it's done, it's mostly done to you when you are a child, or maybe you are a young adult. Like, it's done very early. And it's done to large people of the population. And this can be both like people that are kind of like the elites, or part of the, like, they can be both part of like the higher society, the classes, and both like of the lower. I mean, both can be subjected to this terror. I mean, the higher classes are subjected to this terror for reasons that are somewhat related to what I originally thought. That people, I mean, expect them to be part of like, the Shabak and the Mossad and the IDF, and because of that, they're supposed to be under control all the time. This is somewhat similar to my original thought. But along that, I mean, they decided that also large amount of like the lower classes, or like the slaves, are also subject to that as very very early ages, because they are slaves. So actually, I mean, there are two kind of like, I mean, both like the higher echelons of society and the lower echelons of society, I mean, can be exposed to this kind of conditioning. So now there's the question of like when exactly it's happening. And for some time I thought maybe I'm kind of I missed like the day in school when they do it to you. Like, I mean, because I when I was a child, both like in primary school, but even more so during high school, you see, he locks the door, I mean, very, and like in very kind of a dramatic way, so so the robot will understand that it is expected of him to close the door, because the robot doesn't understand that this is what is expected of him, because it's a robot. So how do you tell it to the robot to close the door? You do it yourself many times in a theatrical way, then he will imitate you, because that's how robots work. They imitate. Coffee, cough, monkey, cough אחרי בן אדם. That's how the robots operate. And this is kind of like, I mean, the first methodology of the Shabak and the last methodology of the Shabak. Like, I mean, it's both the first line of action and the last line of action. Both the first weapon and the last weapon. Just do things near the robot and the robot will imitate you. And if it doesn't work, and if you're going to lose not only the war, but in the entire state, no problem, let's do it even more. We need to do it again and again. You have not done it enough. But we've done it 1 million times. Why not 1 billion times? That's why we lose the war, because you haven't done it 1 billion times. Our forces are in defeat. I mean, do it 1 billion times, not only 1 million times. Why only 1 million times? So that's what they do. This is Israel. This is a trash can. The trash can that I live all my life in. A trash can of the United States of America. Where the empire places all the trash. Where were we? So I thought, I mean, I lost many days because I didn't really like school, because it was boring actually. What can I say? I mean, I didn't really need to attend most classes in order to, like, to pass with good grades. So I mean, I spent time, at home or in other places. But I mean, so I thought maybe you just missed the day where all the people in school all the students are subjected to this terror. But Of course, it doesn't make sense because it's something that is ongoing. I mean, it's something that, I mean, it takes more than a day. It's something ongoing. And it's probably reinforced throughout your life. Like, I mean, it's probably something that is, I mean, all your life you are kind of like reinforced. And later I understood that this is actually, that the reinforcement is done through the golden hearing mechanism, subliminal voices that I mentioned in the last couple of days, and you will enjoy more of it, I mean, during this weekend, I assure you. So the question of when is that, the answer to the question when is probably all the time. And I did not miss it. I mean, I'm subjected to it probably more than anyone else, this conditioning. But it doesn't work. I mean, objectively, it doesn't work. I mean, it does not produce the required result. And the question is why? And there are several answers. I mean, first of all and above all, this is the grace of God. I mean, it's a help from God. I mean, divine intervention in my behalf, because so I will be able to help me do my mission in this earth. I mean, this is the first answer, and of course the most important answer. But of course, I mean, the divine intervention help. I mean, you receive it like in kind of like an intangible ways, in ways that, I mean, you can. So, but how did God help you? I mean, what actually happened? So, there are several answers here. I mean, so first of all, it's something to do probably with my biology, because it's not the same biology as yours. So it's not the same biology. Second, and this is kind of so, and this is. I mean, I will finish with this point because this is like the kind of like where this is the puenta, as they say, a puenta. Like, I mean, the point of the whole day is to. I mean, something that I understood right now, kind of like a new vort, like new chiddush. Like something new that I just thought about right now. But once I kind of like, I mean, because I tell you why I thought about it, because I kind of like I've seen this kind of like radiator that is looming above the hip, and I understood, okay, this must be a trigger. This must be a trigger. And just to understand, the triggers, presumably it can be anything. It can be random. But they are not original in the Shabbat, so they do mostly all the population. They use the same triggers to all of them, because they are not. I mean, you see, I mean, they do the same thing again and again. I mean, that's the way that they act in Israel again and again, a million times, billion times, trillion times. That's the way. So it's mostly the same to everybody, maybe with little change, but mostly the same to everybody. And it gets me. I mean, and I thought about this radiator, and I was reminded of something. And I would say that in a general way, what's interesting about these triggers that, I mean, I thought about quite a bit about these triggers. What's interesting about the triggers is, and the sort of is that, and that's why, I mean, it wasn't really a complete waste of time to spend like energy thinking about it in the last couple of years. Because presumably you can say Kofiko, Noam Sira, all sorts of things that are completely random. You can say, don't even think about it. It's just something that people chose, and that's it. I mean, it doesn't mean anything. But it's not exactly correct. Because when I thought about it quite a bit in the last couple of years, I came to the conclusion that indeed these triggers, they have some kind of importance in my life. Like, not very important, but they mean something. Like, I mean, they remind me of things. And you can say, okay, so this, of course, I mean, means that they were implanted on you. That's why, I mean, it creates kind of like emotional response. So it works. But I'm not satisfied with this answer. Not at all. I'm not satisfied with the answer. And I was never satisfied with the answer. First of all, because it doesn't work, because I don't, like, change my ways. I do not stop, like, I mean, whatever I want to do, or I do not, like, I mean, listen to another person. Like, I mean, I do not do any kind of, like, the manifestation of hypnosis that you expect from people to do. But more so, I understood that the emotion, these are not emotional responses, but these are kind of, like, I mean, like, responses of the memory. Maybe you can define it as like emotional responses, but more it's something to do with recalling stuff from your childhood, actually. But recalling not something that was implanted to you in a subliminal way, but something that actually happened and you remember it. And only now I understood something. You know what I understood now? That all these triggers, most of it is something very old, because they don't change anything here. Everything is old. Everything is super old in this place. This is archaeological digging of Israel. You know, many times when I went to, like, when my grandfather was still alive, Saba Yaakov, I speak about them in the Ziggurat of Ur Saga. Yaakov, Jacob, my late grandfather, he died 10 years ago, but many times when I went, like, so when I was in his house, like in Ramat Sharon, in 15 Atlamim Street, so there was always the issue with the radio. Like, I mean, please, Noam, take this radio and radiator and put it, like, I mean, in the, like, in, so they had, like, in the outside, like, in the, they have, like, a garden, because it's like a house, like, it's very small, but house, like, I mean, that's, you know, it was like a garden. So, and there was also, like, a storage, I mean, you know, like a small storage, say, kind of like a unit in the garden. I remember when it was built, actually, it was very young, but I kind of helped, like, you know, like, a very young child. So put it there. So many times he told me to put it there. So, because, you know, I'm like, you know, I'm strong boy. So let's do grandpa a feather and put it there. So, like, I mean, place it there. And many times it was the other way. So take this back from the, and there were several radiators. Like, put it back, put it in, put it back, put it in. Not like in an abusive way, of course. I mean, just, I mean, in kind of like, I mean, you know, in a functional way. Like, I mean, he really needs it. But, I mean, it was something, that I remember quite well. And I remember that my father, actually, when I was very young, always spoke to me about, like, you know, motorcycle with a boat. You see, there is a motorcycle with a boat here. And these were actually rare even in the even by the late 80s. It was, and today it's kind of like, I mean, a curiosity. And it's, I mean, definitely used as a trigger, because every time I walk outside, there is like motorcycle with a boat that, I mean, theatrically passes like slowly near me. And there are like 10 of these that are on operation in Israel. And every time I walk outside, some of these 10, one of the 10 is like passed near me in the street where I walk, like in a very theatrical way. So, I mean, of course it's a trigger, okay? And even by the late 80s, it was rare in Israel, even though not as rare as now. And I remember, like, when I was a child, it was always like, yes, you see this motorcycle with a boat, you see this, and now I understand something. What they've done, they knew about these triggers because it was always like that. It's not new. And what they've done is anti-triggering of this stuff. Probably many other stuff as well that I don't even think about right now. So thank you, grandfather and father. This is actually very, very clever. I mean, even for smart people like you, this is actually extremely clever and surprising. So thank you very much.